Welcome back, everybody. We're on part 4 now of episode 99, and it's time for the special feature of the week. This week we had something that kind of went a little bit further than just a topic that we would talk about this time. I've been running a tournament on smarkoutmoment.com for the past week, I think. I really rushed this one. Usually we do one round per week, and this was a round every 2-3 days or so. But we needed to get it for this to finish off the last time that we can talk about something champion specific now that Night of Champions is over with, and we're going to be talking about Battleground coming up with everything next week. Who is the best Grand Slam champion of all time in WWE? And for those that don't know, we're going to run down the list of the people right now who were the Grand Slam champions, as well as the titles that they needed to win to be able to be Grand Slam champions. Triple Crown champion is the one who wins a world title, then the mid-card title, and then the tag title. But the Grand Slam championship, for some reason, has the distinction of being a primary championship, WWE or World Heavyweight Champion, and that's only WWE. That's not counting the WCW Championship either, or the ECW quote-unquote World Heavyweight Championship. That doesn't count. You need to have had either the WWE Tag Team Championship or the World Tag Team Championship. Remember how they used to be split? You need to have a secondary championship, which right now is only the Intercontinental title. I don't know why they haven't decided to go with the United States. Kind of weird.
I'm guessing because the U.S. belt, I would think, still technically has an air of being a WCW property as opposed to the World Heavyweight title, which I guess they've kind of taken as their own. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm just talking out of my rear end, but that seems to be the case. Because if they opened it up to the U.S. belt, a lot of guys would probably jump in there, specifically John Cena.
Well, there's a couple people that are one championship away. Those are The Undertaker and William Regal. Regal needs a world title, and Undertaker needs the Intercontinental. But I think that they might be the only people that the U.S. title might make the difference for.
Taker was a European champion?
No, he was, the tertiary championships are the European and the Hardcore. He was a Hardcore champion.
Oh, yeah, I think I remember that.
And I think William Regal might have been both. I know he was European.
Oh, yeah, it makes sense.
But you only need one. So you need one of the 4 groups for each category. You need one of each, I should say, more so. And the people that have won it, first up was Shawn Michaels. Triple H won it next. Then Kane, Chris Jericho, Kurt Angle, Eddie Guerrero, Rob Van Dam, Booker T, Jeff Hardy, JBL, Christian, and Big Show was the latest one. He actually became a champion on April 1st, 2012, when he won the Intercontinental title. That was the only thing that was holding him back. So those are the people that we had in this tournament. And the way that I broke the bracket down, because there was an uneven number of people for a standard 32-person kind of tournament, the 4 people that won it first, I gave them a bye week. Everybody else had to compete in one extra match. And those first rounds, we're going to break them down into the rounds here and talk about the results and who we would have went with, and then finally kind of round out the whole tournament. The first match we had was RVD and Big Show, and I went with the Big Show. Who would you guys have voted for?
I would have gone with RVD because he's about one step away from being a complete Grand Slam champion, because his only championship that he doesn't have is the World Heavyweight Championship, and I see him winning that belt very soon, especially given that they're still going on with that storyline between him and Del Rio, which I know you love, Tony.
Well, I'll give it to Big Show because he was the first man to be WWE champion, WCW champion, and ECW champion.
Well, everybody else went with Big Show when it came to the votes from all the audience out there. I did the same thing as I did before, where I did a split thing with my own votes and everybody else's votes, just so you guys can keep track of my differences. We really didn't disagree on a whole lot. We didn't disagree on the next one either, which was Kurt Angle and JBL. Both myself and everybody on the audience participation votes went with Kurt Angle.
Yeah, I'd have gone with Angle too.
Yeah, can't even attempt to disagree with that.
Yeah, the JBL Intercontinental reign was really the killer on it. Kurt Angle's got a really good resume when it comes to his championships in the Grand Slam tournament. JBL Intercontinental one, horrible. That we had Christian against Jeff Hardy. This was one I did disagree with. I went with Jeff Hardy, and everybody else went with Christian. What did you guys do?
I think Christian won because he was the internet darling. I would have gone with Jeff Hardy.
I think they're really interchangeable. I think they're both pretty insignificant as far as Grand Slam winners.
Yeah, you know what? It was really an issue of who do I want Triple H to beat in the next round, essentially, for me. It really didn't matter. And the same kind of goes for the next one, which was Eddie Guerrero and Booker T. And we disagreed on that one, too. Everybody went with Eddie. I went with Booker. In my mind, mostly, it was Booker T's world title reign that meant more overall to me.
He's the greatest world heavyweight champion of all time.
Apparently.
I'll go with that.
He was also the 5-time WCW champion. Good U.S. champion. He was the final WCW and U.S. champion, as a matter of fact.
He was equal, if not better, when it comes to the Intercontinental.
He was part of a number of fantastic tag teams, including with his brother Stevie Ray and, of course, Goldust. Eddie, I can't remember him being a part of any great tag teams. Don't you dare say Los Guerreros.
That was a great tag team. I love those skits. Those are awesome. Those are the only times I ever cared about Chavo Guerrero.
And we're going to actually backtrack here with this. When I had Booker T winning, he was facing Chris Jericho, and everybody who had Eddie Guerrero winning, he faces Chris Jericho in the next round, and Jericho wins for both. That was pretty easy for me.
It's no surprise. I mean, I figured that was going to be the case.
Mm-hmm.
And then backtracking again, going the opposite way and snaking around, Christian had won his match against Jeff Hardy and lost to Triple H, which makes perfect sense in my mind. Same reason why I had Triple H beat Jeff Hardy, who I had beat Christian.
It's best for business.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you can't really compare people like Christian and Jeff Hardy to Triple H, I think. If it's a different type of tournament, maybe, but in this, no.
Solid B-plus wrestler.
Kane is who ended up being the first person to really tackle Kurt Angle, but really didn't stand that much of a chance either. Kurt Angle pretty much sweeping the floor with Kane, and I agree.
Yeah, I like Kane, but no, not against Kurt Angle.
Yeah, Kurt Angle is a fantastic multiple champion.
Yeah, and Kane only has that one world heavyweight title reign that actually matters.
Technically, he was WWE champion for 24 hours.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter.
That reign did matter. Of course it mattered.
Ah, that reign's bullshit. What are you talking about?
He beat Steve Austin in his prime.
Yeah,
go back and watch the context of that. That was a pretty big deal.
Yeah, it might have been a big deal then, but then it was completely screwed up by them having him lose the next night.
It's not like Jericho's WWE title reign that never happened.
Yeah.
It's not like that. It still technically counts.
True. Shawn Michaels faces the Big Show since Big Show beat RVD, and that's another pretty easy one. There really weren't a whole lot of questionable matches in this. Maybe the Booker T, Eddie Guerrero one was a tough choice, but then you knew that he was going to lose to Chris Jericho. Same with the RVD and Big Show thing. You knew that they were going to lose to Shawn Michaels.
I'm sure Big Show was in tears after the match.
That led to Shawn Michaels against Kurt Angle. Maybe you could try to argue between that.
Nope.
Not even
a chance.
Not even a chance?
Not even a chance.
Oh, everybody went with Michaels, and I agree.
When Michaels held any one of those titles, it meant something. Any single one of them. Whether he was European champion, whether he was early in the Intercontinental run of his career, whether he was in a tag team holding those belts, whether it was earlier in his career as a tag team, or it was later when he had him with John Cena or when he had him with Triple H, it meant something.
Well, Kurt made his IC runs matter, especially during that Euro Continental run where he was on his big win streak.
Uh-huh.
I mean, that put those belts at a pretty high pedestal. I don't know about after that, but I'll give him credit for making his at least those title belts matter.
But then all of his WWE runs, except for maybe the first one when he first won it, didn't really have any zing to them. None of his tag team runs are memorable.
Well, that was pretty much a blowout. Shawn Michaels won with 94% of the vote. Only one person voted for Kurt Angle.
I'm guessing that's probably because of Kurt Angle now. I mean, if we're taking, it depends on what kind of Kurt Angle we're talking about. Like, if we're talking about like in his prime Kurt Angle, or even Angle and Michaels back when they actually were feuding at the time, it might be a little more even. But yeah, if we're going by nowadays, I guess I'll go with Michaels. Although I like Angle.
And the other semifinal match was Triple H against Chris Jericho. This was another one that I disagreed with. I went with Triple H. And the main reason I went with him was I felt his world title reigns mean significantly more. And he wasn't a bad Intercontinental Champion. He wasn't a bad European Champion, especially because Jericho's one-time European, one-time Hardcore Championships, I mean, they weren't really the most important thing in the world. Jericho, I would definitely give an edge to when it comes to Tag Team Championship. But overall, it ended up being Triple H for me, and the public vote went to Chris Jericho. And I can't really, I mean, it's a tough one, so I don't think that that's like some crazy situation where, we've got a final situation here of JBL against Jeff Hardy or something like that. That would be crazy.
Well, it all depends on what you hold higher. 9-time Intercontinental Champion or 12-time WWE Champion. Well, main event champion. Because I don't know if they count the World Heavyweight title in that 12-time championship speak.
Sure do.
And then in that case, yeah, I guess I'd have to go with Triple H.
I would go with Triple H. I mean, I love Jericho overall as a more entertaining character. I would go with Jericho, but if we're talking about who did the most with those titles, I mean, Jericho really had to claw his way to even get to a world title spot, which, in some ways makes them mean more in that sense, but it once they were on him, it meant nothing. I mean, his first world heavyweight title, or his first WWE title run, I should say, it was like CM Punk. He was never the main event on TV. He was never shown as the main spotlight guy, as opposed to Triple H, who pretty much owned the Raw brand for a good 3 years.
Yeah, that was a bad time to test Jericho out. I mean, you had the tail end of the Invasion, you had Triple H returning as a babyface, you had the NWO coming back. I mean, that whole WrestleMania 18 was pretty much a lame duck show for Jericho. I mean, there was no way, no matter how popular he was, that he should have main evented that pay-per-view. That pay-per-view should have gone to Rock versus Hogan. But yeah, I mean, his first two, I mean, if you consider the 24-hour reign that he had and the World Heavyweight reign, I mean, they're very forgettable.
Yeah,
24-hour reign?
When he held the WWE title, the one that technically isn't on the record, but we all know better.
You mean like the 2-minute reign?
That didn't happen? Yeah, the 2-minute reign, yeah. I was giving him more credit.
It wasn't so bad that it felt like 24 hours.
No, I was giving him more credit.
Well, that the difference between the two, the other one where Shawn Michaels had won by 94% of the vote, Chris Jericho won only by 63% of the vote. It still sounds like it's quite a bit, but it was a much closer match, which led to the finals, Shawn Michaels against Chris Jericho, or in my bracket and ours, Shawn Michaels against Triple H. And just to break it down a little bit for the quantity section, Shawn Michaels had 3 WWE Championship reigns and 1 World Heavyweight. So he has 4 for the main title, the primary championship. In comparison, Chris Jericho has 4, 3 World Heavyweight, 1 WWE Championship. So they really just kind of switched that. Shawn Michaels was a 3-time Intercontinental Champion. Chris Jericho was a 9-time Intercontinental Champion. European title for Chris Jericho was once, and Hardcore was once. Only 1 time of European for Shawn Michaels, no Hardcore. Tag Team Championships, Shawn Michaels had 6 of them, and Chris Jericho had 7. So they're very evenly matched for a lot of these things, except for how Shawn Michaels was lower in quantity for Intercontinental Championship. Now, you can say that quantity and quality, Jericho might have the edge for Intercontinental Championship. But when you really break it down, I ended up going with Shawn Michaels. And an interesting thing here is the two finalists. Chris Jericho is the only one who won every eligible title in the Grand Slam Championship sections, and Shawn Michaels is the first person to do it. So we actually had like two people who really are justifiable for the best one in the finals, which is pretty interesting.
To me, it all goes back to something Mick Foley said. It doesn't matter how much in terms of championships you do or have, but what you do with them. You know, I believe he said that to CM Punk when CM Punk was talking about his big 400-plus day title reign. And to me, like you said, Shawn Michaels' reigns as the champion meant so much more than any of Chris Jericho's reigns as a world champion.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I wish they would have let him hold on to the belt longer when he first won that world heavyweight title back in 2002 when he came back.
2000 whatever. Yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
when he in the elimination chamber. I really wish they'd have let him hold on to that a little bit more. But yeah, like I said, I mean, Chris Jericho's 9-time title IC belt reign, it's impressive, but at the end of the day, it's still a mid-card belt, and his 1 or 2 world heavyweight title reigns that mattered, they're okay, but I mean, I'm going with Michaels on this.
Yeah, Tony, I'm going to have to disagree with what you said about the Intercontinental thing. I mean, yeah, Jericho has the most runs, and he deserves that distinction. He deserves to have that one little remark written when they talk about his career highlights. But Shawn Michaels' run with that Intercontinental title, I mean, he took part in what was probably the greatest Intercontinental title storyline of all time with the whole Razor Ramon thing when he went out and then he came back and they had the 2 titles and he had the 2 titles suspended above the ring, then had that kick-ass ladder match. That was awesome.
No, I actually think the same thing. I think that if you're talking quantity, you got to go with Jericho. But if you do talk quality and quantity mixed together, Jericho has 9, but I remember Shawn Michaels 3 a lot more than Chris Jericho's 9.
Absolutely. And I don't think, as far as the world title, anyone has had a more memorable first world title win than Shawn Michaels.
No, and it was a long, decent reign, like as far as length, compared to a lot of Jericho's who are pretty simple.
But even just the journey in the moment of when he did win it, what a big deal that was.
And then he loses it, and he really only lost it as a transitional thing. Now, granted, he did kind of just drop it right after that too, but then he won again. And then what did his third world WWE Championship reign end up being? It ended up being the thing that passes it on to Shawn Michaels. Passes it on to Shawn Michaels. Passes it on to Stone Cold Steve Austin. So that ended up meaning quite a bit. And the European title meant a lot more when Shawn Michaels had it than it did when Chris Jericho got it. That's for sure.
Agreed.
So that ended up being the main reasons why I went with Shawn Michaels. I'm not sure if everybody else ended up going with Shawn Michaels for that reason why, but Shawn Michaels did actually end up winning. And we kind of guessed that when we were about to do the tournament because we were saying Shawn Michaels wins all this stuff. And you know what? Rightfully so. I actually went with Shawn Michaels over Triple H as well in my own bracket. And just to break it down a little bit, when it comes to the quantity, Triple H had 8 WWE Championship reigns and 5 World Heavyweight Championship reigns. So he, quantity-wise, completely blows Shawn Michaels out of the water. But again, remember, it's not just quantity, it's quality and quantity. 2 European title reigns, so he has that edge over Shawn Michaels. 5 Intercontinental, he has that edge over Shawn Michaels. And 3 Tag Team, which that's not as many as Shawn Michaels did. But quantity, reason why you would go with Triple H. Quality, I would still go with Shawn Michaels. You guys too?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, you can't really argue with that logic.
No, I think that Shawn Michaels was pretty much scheduled to win this from the very beginning. And I'm kind of glad that people didn't go with RVD or something like that. If you guys disagree with any of the matches, or you guys think that somebody else should have won, or you just want to sing praise to Shawn Michaels for winning, another thing. And I'm sure he'll win some other tournaments that we'll have down the line. We'll have a best Intercontinental Championship situation, and he'll get up there pretty soon. We'll have another one with World Heavyweight, and he might not win that one, but, you know, I'm all for giving Shawn Michaels more wins on Smark Out Moment.
I have my problems with Shawn Michaels. I like him as a wrestler, but I've been reading a lot of stuff about what people have to say about him, and you just read all the nasty stuff about him, like especially during the 90s, and I don't know, it's hard for me to get completely behind Shawn 100%. I guess you got to kind of have to separate the sportsman from the person himself, but some of those things, man.
Really, when in the grand scheme of things, I mean, he fought for his spot. I mean, he did what he had to do to be the big guy backstage, and that's because that's the way the business was. I don't think Shawn did anything anybody else wouldn't have done if they were in his position. You know, when you could consider some of the other people that are out there, when you got the Chris Benoits, the Jimmy Snukas, the Hulk Hogans, there's a lot dirtier stories to tell.
Yeah, I guess there's always worse.
All right, guys, that is it for the Grand Slam Champion tournament. If you guys have an idea for another championship tournament, or really a tournament for anything for the most part, I'm not sure when I'll do the next one. Probably not for a while. Probably not until next year, because everything's pretty booked up for the next God knows how many episodes of Smack Talk. But if you have any ideas, go ahead, leave them in the comments, shoot a message on the smarkoutwomen.com website itself. Let me know, and we'll do it eventually. That'll do us in for all the content for episode 99. Now it's time to go into the plugs. All right, guys, first plug, Sign Me Up initiative, bringing a sign that says Smark Out Moment to any kind of wrestling event, whether it's a WWE, TNA, Ring of Honor, whatever it is. It doesn't even need to be a pay-per-view. It could be a taping of something or an autograph session, whatever that may be. Send a picture or a video of it to me, and I'll put it up on the next week on the website and the show. Remember to send in those monthly mailbag questions, leave those comments, subscribe, like the videos, so on and so forth. I'm going to bring this back around to me a little bit later, but for now I'm going to pass it on to Miguel.
You'll notice that he left off the... I was going to make a comment about Fanboys Anonymous in YouTube, but I couldn't get it out. Never mind. But fanboysanonymous.com, the actual main website, you can go to. That's still up. And check out 90s Kid Presents, which is my blog. I know I keep pimping it, even though I haven't added anything, but please bear with me, folks. I'm doing a big article that I'm going to be coming back with. It's going to be a month-long series on the top 16 greatest games of the late 90s. I've just been really hard at work trying to replay a lot of those games. A lot of them are RPGs, and you know how long those can be. But I think I've got my list together. I really just need to get down and start typing it up. But hopefully I can get this up by early or mid-October. Bear with me. Other than that, read my other articles. They're pretty good too. 90s Kid Presents on fanboysanonymous.com.
All right, Peyton.
Everyone, support everything we got going on at Mega Powers Radio by going to megapowersradio.com. What is Mega Powers Radio? Well, it's a collective of all the people that you hear often on this show, as well as friends with us and things like that. All the projects we have come together, especially the ones that we have that are podcasts, because we do live shows on that network almost every night. On Monday, I am so tired. Monday night, we have the Monday Night Raw post show. So if you're a wrestling fan, which I assume you are if you're listening to this, tune in immediately following Raw to megapowersradio.com for that. People can call in. I am just falling apart right here. Tuesday night Geek Speak, Wednesday night the Daceman Show, Thursday night Keeping Kayfabe, which is my wrestling podcast. We just finished up doing The Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels in the first ever Hell in a Cell this week, so that's up on all of our archived avenues. We're leading our way up to episode 50. Next 2 weeks, we're going to be doing Wrestling with Shadows for episode 49. And then finally, the Montreal Screwjob, Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels from Survivor Series 97. That's going to be our 50th episode special. It's coming up, I believe it's October 10th. It's going to be on Mega Powers Radio. It's going to be a good time. Really super special episode for us. Excited to be reaching that milestone. Woo. And I got gameplay on Saturday nights. We have Otaku Nation this Sunday if you're an anime or a manga fan. That's our monthly series about that we have. And, you know, as I said, easy to find all this info, megapowersradio.com, facebook.com/megapowersradio, and not to rub it in, but yeah, we're on YouTube, youtube.com/megapowersradio.
Oh, that reminds me. Hold on. Let me get a quick plug in there. Since Burhan's not here, I really do want to plug this out. Check out I Got Gameplay this week. It's going to be a special episode of I Got Gameplay. First off, it's going to be starting, I believe, an hour earlier Check out the I Got Gameplay page on Mega Powers Radio to check, but I believe this week's episode is going to be starting at 11 o'clock Eastern, 11 p.m. Eastern, and it's going to be we're going to have a special guest on there, from the Happy Console Gamer, Rob Man. He's going to be on the program. You get to ask him some questions, and we're going to be doing a retrospective on the Mega Man series. So a very special episode of I Got Gameplay. Check it out. I Got Gameplay on Mega Powers Radio on Blog Talk Radio. Don't quote me, 11 p.m. Eastern. It might still be on the regular 10 p.m. slot. Check Mega Powers Radio for further details. But definitely check that out Saturday night, guys.
All right, guys, if you want to follow everything else under A Mango Tree, go to outonlimbs.com for all the social commentary stuff. Go to fanboysanonymous.com, as mentioned before, for everything geek culture. If you want to give support to Fanboys Anonymous on YouTube, I don't really know what you can do. You can't really just send threats to Google or anything like that. But as a backup possible option, youtube.com/fanboysanon, just the ANON part, is another channel that we might have to be starting up, but I hope that that's not necessarily the case. I hope that the YouTube channel, that's the standard one.com/fanboysanonymous, does get back up. You'll be hearing about that whenever I have any news. But always go to fanboysanonymous.com for everything geek culture related. And that is going to do us in for this episode. Thanks again to everyone on the panel tonight, as well as all you for listening, and everybody who voted for their favorite Grand Slam champion of all time. Coming up next week, we are going to talk about Battleground, our pay-per-view predictions for episode 100. And coming up on episode 101, we will review that. We will do our captions, give a little prediction for TNA Bound for Glory. Maybe some other bonus things coming along. I don't know. Got an announcement that I'm going to talk about next week that affects episode 101. But you'll have to wait for that one. For now, this has been another Smark Out moment, and we're being counted out. Adios, everybody.
Outro. I'm doing your backup, man.
For life.
You decided to go with that instead of any of the lyrics.
I don't know the lyrics.
Well, I'll stand up next to an outro. Chomping down with
the edge of my hand.
Well, I'll stand up next to an outro.
Are you still recording all this shit?
Yeah, what the hell? I don't know. It'll get taken down on YouTube anyway eventually.
Yeah, Voodoo Child is against YouTube copyright.